Hello students, welcome to VHSE classes. I'm your research teacher Dr. Bharat Pareek, and today I'm going to discuss another important topic, that is non-probability sampling methods. In a previous lecture we have discussed about probability sampling methods, where we have discussed various techniques of selecting the sample from the population using the random method. Now what is non-probability sampling? Let's talk about this. Sampling elements are selected from the population by non-random method. Please understand this. What is the important point here is a non-random methods. Means you do not provide equal chance. You select the sample maybe based on your judgment, your understanding, accidentally, based on your convenience. Okay, all these things become a base for their selection. Okay, you are not using any lottery method, you are not making a cheats or elements, and from there you select. So in non-probability sampling, certain elements of the population may have no chance of being included in the sample. Yes, that chances, that is always there. This restrict the generalizations of that can made about the study findings. So yes, non-probability sampling techniques, though it is widely used among nursing studies by the nursing scholars, but in research, whenever you go for non-probability sampling, there is always a question mark on the implication of the findings, because you have chosen sample based on your convenience, you have chosen sample based on your understanding, based on your own wisdom. So people always put a question that you might have taken a bias sampling. So when we say the sample should represent the population, that is a base for sampling. So that is more accurately applied on probability sampling, not on this type of sampling. But still people use it because it is not like it always give a bias. If you can have certain restrictions, if you plan your things carefully, even non-probability sampling can gives you the good results, can give you the good results. Now what are the different types of non-probability sampling? So the meaning is clear. Non-random selection. How to select? Maybe based on your judgment, maybe based on your convenience, maybe based on your wisdom, or select something accidentally, or based on certain quota representation which you want to ensure. So all these are the types. So what are the different types? We have a purposive sampling, okay, then we have a convenient sampling, we have a quota sampling, we have a snowball sampling. There are many more, but I try to categorize into these 4 categories. What is purposive sampling? Selecting somebody based on the judgment of the researcher. Okay, purposive sampling is also known as a judgmental sampling. Then convenient sampling, name itself says selecting somebody based on your convenience. Suppose I have taken these 10 samples. Why? Because they were easily available, they were near to my home, they were near to they are familiar with my language. That is a convenience. Quota sampling, where you want to make sure, like for example, I just want to ensure that 20% of my sample should be the girls. So I'll make a quota of 20% for girls. Or I want to ensure that representation of a specific population. Okay. Then snowball sampling, it's also known as a reference sampling. Okay, where one subject give reference to another subject. Like for example, I'm just interviewed somebody who recently stopped taking alcohol. Okay, so I can ask him, can you suggest the name of another person who has successfully quit the smoking, like that. Okay, so that's a snowball. Let's discuss. So first I'll just talk about the purposive, or what we call judgmental sampling. Now many time people write, I've seen the students, they write purposive sampling means where you select the subject based on the study purpose, but this is not the actual meaning. It is not based on the purpose, it is based on the judgment, understanding. For example, suppose I want to do a transcultural studies where Indian students has to provide an opportunity to study with the students of Canada. So Canadian students and Indian students will study together, and then we'll see the outcome. Okay. So now who should represent the Indian education system? Who should be selected? So suppose in a specific class or a college, I just say, yeah, these 3 or 4 students are academically good, they are regular, they are serious, so I'll take them. So I have selected them because I know them personally and it is my judgment. I believe that these 4 or 5 students would be the better representation of our country. Okay, so that kind of sampling is a judgmental sampling. And remember, it has to do nothing with the purpose of your research, right? So here the samples are chosen which is thought to be typical of the universe with regard to a characteristics under the investigation. Okay, so it's a purposive sampling. Like for example, I just tell you my own example. We did one research where we wanted to study the children engaged in child labor. So one particular subject, a person, a child, sorry, who's working in a shop near to my home, okay, and he's having a good experience and meeting with a multiple people, okay, of different age groups, having a different experience. So I thought this person could be a good sample for my research. He can help me to understand this phenomena of child labor. So I've taken that person not based on he is near to my home, but based on my understanding about that person. Okay, so typical case, okay, which I believe. The researcher must be familiar with the characteristics of the universe. Yeah, that's a very important point. Whenever you select somebody based on your judgment, your understanding, means you should know them. Then only you can understand. Like as I said, I know them. He is meeting with a diverse, population. Different people he is meeting. He's having good experience. From last many years he is working there. So he can be a good sample. So I should know that universe. Okay. And what characteristics would help me to understand the phenomena under study. So there are different types of purposive samplings we have. Like one is a maximum variation sampling. This is what I have always prefer if you are doing for a qualitative research, or when you want to involve a multiple people from different category or strata. Like for example, maximum variation. What is that? You select the sample from the diverse characteristics. Like for example, in my own PhD research, what I did, I have taken PhDs, MScs, BScs, all that. So teachers with a different qualification has been taken. The maximum variation. I have taken people with those who are professor, associate professor, assistant professor, lecturer, clinical instructor, all that. So I just wanted to understand the phenomena of professionalism among nurse educators, and for that I want all form of teachers, the teachers with a diverse or different experiences, or with a qualification, or having a different. I've taken the people from a government college, from private college. So that kind of sampling, where my purpose is to get the maximum variation in my population, in my sample, is called as a maximum variation sampling. Okay, I hope it is clear. And usually this kind of research, this kind of sampling is required for qualitative research, or when you want to develop a theory. So theoretical sampling, this is one of the best technique. Okay, of course the problem with the maximum variation sampling is that, because you get a diverse point of view, so sometimes it's become very confusing, okay, to have an interpretation of the data. So that's the one problem, and there are so many confounding effects can influence this. Then we have a typical case sampling. What is a typical case sampling? As the example I have given. Okay, suppose I just want to study the experience of people, those who survived suicidal survival, and I know that this particular girl has survived a suicide or had a 2 attempt. So that person become a typical case sample. Okay, that's a typical case. Okay, same way sometimes we use to take a atypical case also. Okay, atypical case means, like for example, suppose I just want to study a person having diagnosed with a depression. Okay, so depressive person, what have? Depressive person will have a depressed mood, decreased psychomotor activities, loss of interest, suicidal thoughts, negative thinking, all that. So no, but I found a person who's having a very depressive thoughts, okay, but having a good psychomotor activity. So this become atypical to that particular disease. Okay, so that kind of thing is a atypical case sampling. Then we have, so that is atypical is also sometimes known as extreme or deviant case sampling. Okay, what is extreme or deviant case? I have taken a case that is different from the normal. Like for example, I am taking a student from a class who got 99%, where other people has got nothing. Or I've taken, suppose in a class there are 60 students, and out of 60, most of the students are having an attendance of 75%. But there are two students having attendance of 10%. So now this 10% become my sample, extreme deviant case sampling. So I'm taking a subject because they are so much deviant from from their population. Okay, that is extreme deviant, and sometimes it is required, what we call the descenders. Sometimes this is required to study, especially when you're doing a grounded theory researches. We cannot always, like for example, I just want to I want to study the experience of nursing student in a private college. So I cannot take all the student, all those who are scoring very good. I have to take the student those who are scoring very low as well. Then only I can understand the overall phenomena. Okay. Then critical case sampling. Okay, that's another important method where I just select a specific critical case. Okay, that is exactly what is fitting into that. Then we have a maximum variation, which already I have told you. So these are some of the important type of purposive sampling which we can take. But overall, please understand that purposive sampling is a kind of a judgmental sampling where you select the study subject based on your own understanding and believe that this particular subject or these particular characteristics will enlighten the phenomena under study. If I talk about the merits and demerits of purposive sampling, of course, it is a non-probability methods. So always there are chances that we'll not able to measure the error here. There are more chance because population may not be, the sample may not represent the entire population. So you may be biased. Selection of subjects sometimes become more biased. Okay, I have seen many times people select the subject based on their convenience, but they try to say it is purposively. Okay, that is a one drawback. So this will affect overall findings or inference. Many of the parametric tests cannot be applied on purposive sampling. Okay, these are the drawback. If I talk about the merits of purposive sampling, of course, the number one is when you know your population, this turned to be a good sampling design. Secondly, you have more control as a researcher on your selection process. Third point, if I talk about purposive sampling, it is more informative, especially when you study having a purpose to study something in-depthly. So for in-depth study for qualitative researches, purposive sampling could be the best one. Next, about convenient sampling or accidental sampling, or another name is incidental sampling. How many names are there? 3 names. Either you call it a convenient sampling, or you call it accidental sampling, or incidental sampling. Okay, so convenient sampling, also known as availability sampling, accidental or incidental sampling, population member who are conveniently available to participate in the study. Conveniently available, like for example, you want to study the experience of nursing student in a particular college. You'll go to a library, and those who are easily available sitting there, you will interview them, you will select them for your research. Those who are sitting in a corridor, those who are available in a classes, so you are not going to see any specific feature, but you are only taking because they are easy to you. That's the one criteria. Okay, so always whenever you select the convenient sampling, always please try to write the criteria of convenience. Criteria of convenience. Okay, like for example, maybe geographical similarity. Like for example, in my PhD, I have done a study where I've taken the teachers, educators from northern Indian states. Why? Because of geographical familiarity, because of language familiarity, because of my own approach to the administrator, because it was easy for me to get permission to conduct research. So whenever you select a convenient sampling, always try to write the criteria of convenience. This will help you readers to understand what the mindset and thought process which researcher has taken while selecting the sample. In other words, this sampling method involves getting participants wherever researcher can find them, and typically whatever is convenient. So that is a one type of sampling. Now what are the merits or demerits of this? If I talk about the merits first, of course convenience itself is a merit. You can collect the data very quickly, availability of sample will not be an issue. Okay, you don't need to know your population, you don't need to make a sampling frame. So it's easy. Or for new beginners, maybe it is easy. And sometimes, if you're dealing with a phenomena where the getting sample is very difficult, okay, or very costly, then convenient sampling could be a one that can help us. What are the demerits? I think it is one of the weakest sampling method, or one should avoid it. Okay, because whenever you are conducting a research, your research should not be based on a convenience. It should not be a part of your presentation where you say that I have taken a sample because it was convenient to me. Research will never give a good findings, will not have a good generalizability if your criteria of sample is a convenient. Because we need to understand that sample are the something that represent the population. And in this part, in any specific research, we just wanted to know about population. So convenient sampling will lead to bias. Maybe they provide under or over representation of the population, and the results may not be accurate. Okay, so that is a one bigger problem with the convenient sampling. Another type of sampling here is a snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is also known as a network sampling. First, please understand that, as you can see here, one person you identify, you have selected, and then you ask that person to refer another. Okay, so that kind of sampling is known as a snowball sampling. It involves the assistant of the study subject to help to obtain the other potential subjects. Okay, this type of networking is particularly helpful in finding the people who are reluctant to make their identity known. Okay, like for example, you want to study the substance abuser. No, this is considered social evil, and people will never try to disclose it. So suppose I got one subject and I interviewed, I can request him, can you suggest another person who is also abuser? Once I get a reference, because that person is giving me a reference. So with that reference, I'll gain the confidence, and that person may participate in my research. Okay, so this is, let's say, subject 1 will give a reference of subject 2, then he will give a reference of subject 3, like that I can select. Okay, so as you can see, this is subject 1, he has given me 2 reference. Okay, then this second subject has given me again 3 references. So that kind of sampling is known as a snowball sampling, or remember, reference sampling. So there are 3 basic types of snowball sampling. One is a linear snowball sampling. What is that? One subject will give you the reference of another subject, then that person will give another reference. So 1, then 2 will give reference of 3, third person will give a reference of 4, and so and so. So it will go a line. So that's why linear snowball sampling. Okay, what is exponential non-discriminative snowball sampling? Okay, one person will provide you the reference of multiple people. Like as you can say, example 2, he has given I know these 2 people, you can go. Now I'll just interview these 2 people, then I'll ask them for a reference. Now these 2 people will give me another reference. So it is exponential, it's keep on going. Now these people again will give me more references. So like that I'll just get, that is we call it exponential non-discriminating. Second is a exponential discriminating snowball sampling. What is that? It is discriminating. No, same only as like previous example. This subject 1 has given me a reference of 2 people, but I will only take 1. I will not interview this person. Again I'll interview, I'll ask him the reference. This person also might have given me 3-4 references, so I'll only interview 1. Only one. Okay, how to select that one? Maybe random, or maybe based on the convenience, based on choice, whatever it is. So it is this one is the same like linear only. Only the difference in linear, we get only one reference, but here we get a multiple reference by the same subject, but we select only one. What we do in non-discriminating, as many as reference we are getting, we are going to do that. So that's about the snowball sampling. Now, what are the merits of snowball sampling? Very simple. For the phenomena where samples are not available, like as example, substance abuse, suicidal tendencies, okay, sexual abuse, domestic violence, all these are the phenomena that we study, or maybe certain disease like sexually transmitted disease and other things, treatment, all that. So snowball sampling is very effective to find the sample. Okay, because otherwise what happens if you go for other methods of sampling, you will struggle to find the samples. So that is the one biggest merit, and that is the reason for the existence of snowball sampling. What are the demerits? Demerits are same like any other non-probability sampling, because as you are getting a multiple references, first of all you have to rely on that references. First point is that. Secondly, maybe your selected sample are not truly representing the population, because the subject one only will give a reference of somebody to whom they know. So maybe there are many more people having a different opinion or a different insight about the phenomena under study, might not be or may not be explored. So that is about the snowball sampling. Next, we are going to talk about the another important non-probability sampling is a quota sampling. If you remember, I told you about a technique in a probability category that is stratified. It is same like stratified, but in a non-probability manner. You fix the quota first. Okay. As you can see, it involved dividing the population into homogeneous strata, same like stratified sampling. As you can see, adult males, adult females and children, and selecting a sample element from each of these strata. Then you select, like for example, I've taken, let's say I'll take these two people from here, I'll take these two females from here, I'll take this one and one, these from here. So now I becomes 6. So if I select like 2 from here on random basis, then it is known as a stratified random sampling. But as I've taken these 2 people based on my convenience, based on my purpose, my judgment, then we call it a quota sampling. So the difference in quota and stratified lies only how you select your sample from the strata. Strata, up to the strata, both the sampling method are same. The difference where how you select the sample from the given strata. Okay, that we call a quota sampling. And what is the merit? Merits of quota sampling, of course, you ensure the adequate representation of each strata that you believe to affect the outcome variable. Like for example, in adult male, I ensure that 2 males should participate. In a female, 2 females should participate. In children, 2 children, 1 male and 1 female should participate. That I can ensure with this. So that's a very good one. So representation, I enhance the representation of my population in the sample by this method. What is a major disadvantage for this? Again, non-probability sampling hai. So there are chances of error, there are chances of being biased, and of course you need a large sample size for that, same like stratified. So suppose there are only 2 male or 1 female or 1 children or very less number of sample, then you cannot make a quota. Because whenever you do a quota sampling, first of all you need to have a large sample size. Okay. Secondly, your analysis also requires some more modification. Like for example, sometimes you do a subgroup analysis. Okay, you do a covariate analysis. You just identify what's the difference if we consider specific characteristics. If I want to ensure adequate representation of different characteristics, then I have to do the subgroup analysis. So analysis also sometimes become more complicated. Okay, so these are some of the drawback of quota sampling as well as the stratified sampling. So that is all about the non-probability sampling methods. So if I sum up my lectures, I say non-probability sampling methods are the methods where we select the sample from the population based on non-random manner. Okay, or non-random manner means maybe either based on your convenience or your judgment, or accidental selections or incidental selection, or by referential selection or quota selections. Different techniques we have discussed here. First I talked about the very important technique we use, the purposive sampling, okay, where we can select the sample based on our wisdom. The important consideration here is we should know the population, and researcher, as a researcher, we should believe that this particular sample can have an insight about the phenomena under study. Then we also have discussed about various types of purposive sampling. Okay, like it's a maximum variation sampling, or it's a typical case sampling, or extreme deviant case sampling, all that. Okay, different methods we use. Normally, qualitative researchers are using various purposive sampling. Then we have discussed about the another important technique here, that is a snowball sampling, that is also called as a referential sampling. Okay. Then we have discussed about the convenient sampling methods. Okay. In that we select the subject based on our convenience. But please remember, whenever you select sample on convenience, you should always write the criteria of convenience. So overall, if I say about these techniques, okay, so I must say that non-probability sampling are widely used, but if I compare non-probability sampling with the probability sampling, I always advise to prefer for probability sampling technique, because that probability sampling is effectively ensuring the population representative with the selected samples, whereas there are more chances of being biased in a non-probability sampling techniques. So that's all about the probability and non-probability sampling. Thank you. Thank you so much.